Last night, something happened in a room you were not in. A name came up in the middle of a conversation. A simple moment. Someone said it without thinking, casually, the way people say names every day. But the moment that name landed in the air, everything shifted, because that name was yours. And the person who loves you, the one you've been thinking about, the one whose silence has been sitting heavy on your chest. They did not take it well, not even a little. There was tension. There were words. And then there was a door, slammed shut. You did not find this video today. This video found you. At this exact hour, in this exact moment of your life, something made you stop here. That is not coincidence. That is not random. The universe does not arrange these moments without reason. You have been carrying something quietly for a long time, a wondering, a waiting, a feeling in your chest that something is unfinished between you and this person. What you are about to hear will tell you exactly what that feeling means, and exactly what happened last night when your name changed everything. Right now, in this moment, you are not just watching a video. You are receiving something, a message that was arranged for you before you even knew you needed it. Carl Jung once wrote that there are no accidents in the inner life, that what pulls us, what draws our attention without explanation, is always trying to tell us something true. Something true is trying to reach you right now. And before it does, there is something that needs to be said first. Something that perhaps no one has said to you clearly enough, or recently enough, or with the weight it deserves. You have been patient in a way that most people do not understand. The kind of patience that does not look like strength from the outside. Because from the outside, it can look like stillness, like silence, like moving on. But inside, you've been holding something. A hope you did not want to admit to. A love you did not fully let go of, no matter how many times you told yourself that you had. The nights that stretched too long. The moments where a song came on, and your mind went somewhere it was not supposed to go. The times you picked up your phone and then put it back down. The quiet grief of missing someone who is still alive, still somewhere in the world, still, whether they show it or not, still thinking about you. Those moments were not weakness. They were not foolishness. They were your soul refusing to accept a false ending. Because here's what the angels confirm, what the deepest layers of spiritual truth make clear. Some connections are not finished simply because two people are no longer speaking. Some bonds run deeper than silence, deeper than distance, deeper than pride and fear, and all the things that make human beings slam doors instead of saying what they mean. You are in one of those connections, and what you are about to hear is the reason you stopped here today. Before we go any further, welcome. You are in the right place. Please subscribe to this channel right now and hit the bell icon, then select all notifications. Every single video on this channel is written to find you at the exact moment your soul is ready to receive it. Let's speak honestly for a moment. You did not arrive at this point in your life without carrying something heavy. The story between you and this person, whatever shape it has taken, whatever word was said or left unsaid, has left a mark on you that the ordinary world cannot see. People around you may think you are fine. You learn how to look fine. You learn how to answer the question, how are you? With something smooth and acceptable. You learn how to fill your days with enough noise that the quiet did not swallow you whole. But in the honest hours, the early morning before the world woke up, the late night after everything went still, you felt it. That unresolved thing sitting in the center of your chest. Not quite grief, not quite hope. Something in between that has no clean name. Maybe you stopped being the one who always reached out first. Maybe you stopped explaining yourself. Stop justifying your feelings. Stop making yourself smaller so that the connection could feel easier. Maybe there was a day, not dramatic, not announced, where you simply decided that you could not keep pouring from a place that was already empty. And so you went quiet. And that quiet, that decision, changed everything, even if you do not fully see it yet. Because here is what that silence communicated. Even without a single word, it communicated value. It communicated dignity. It said, without saying anything at all, that you are someone who will not disappear into the background of another person's life. That you are someone who knows, even on the hardest days, that you deserve to be chosen, clearly, fully, without hesitation. That is not a small thing. That is a rare thing. The way you loved was not ordinary. You were not the kind of person who gave half of themselves and kept the other half safely protected. You gave genuinely. You saw this person, not just the version they showed the world, but the quieter, more complicated version underneath. You held space for their fears. You stayed patient through their walls. You offered something that most people in this world are too guarded, too distracted, or too wounded to offer. And yes, it cost you. There were moments you felt invisible. Moments where you wondered if the depth you were bringing was even being felt on the other side. Moments where the silence from them felt like an answer you did not want to accept. You carried smiles in rooms where you were quietly aching. You kept your voice steady in conversations while something in your chest was anything but steady. You held back tears that deserved to fall. You swallowed words that deserved to be spoken. You gave grace in moments where most people would have walked away with fire. That is who you are. And this person, the one who had a fight last night, the one who could not hold themselves together when your name entered the room, they know exactly who you are. That is precisely the problem they're having right now. Because it is very easy to let go of someone ordinary. It is very easy to close a door on something that was never truly alive. But you are not ordinary to them. What existed between you was not something they could simply refile and forget. And the harder they have tried to do exactly that, the more impossible it has become. Every time someone in their world says your name, something happens to them that they cannot control. Something surfaces. Something honest and inconvenient and impossible to push back down. Last night, they could not push it back down. Last night, a door slammed because the feelings that were supposed to stay buried refused to stay buried any longer. And you need to understand what that means. You need to understand what is actually happening inside them, why your name has this power, and what is now moving beneath the surface of their silence. That is exactly what we are going to talk about next. Let us go into that room. Not physically, but in the way that truth travels, in the way that when something real happens, it sends a signal outward, like a ripple moving across still water, until it reaches a person it was always meant to reach. Last night, there was a gathering. It does not matter the size, a few people, maybe more. Conversation moving the way conversations do, casually, without direction. And then, in the middle of all of it, someone said your name, not with any intention, not to cause anything. Simply your name, in a sentence. The way names get mentioned every day between people who share mutual connections. But the moment it landed, the moment those syllables moved through the air and reached the ears of the person who had been carrying you in the back of their mind every single day, something happened that they were not prepared for. They went still, not the kind of still that other people notice immediately, the internal kind. The kind where the world keeps moving and talking and laughing around you, but something inside you just stops, like a held breath, like a skipped heartbeat, like the body's honest reaction before the mind can get there to manage it. Your name did that to them. And then came the feeling they had been working so hard to keep contained. It rose without permission. That familiar ache, that complicated, inconvenient, deeply honest feeling that they have told themselves over and over again they're finished with. That they have buried in busyness and distractions and convincing conversations they have had with themselves in the mirror. It rose anyway, because that is what real feelings do. They do not obey instructions. They do not respect the boundaries we try to build around them. They wait, patient and persistent, for the moment our guard is lowest, and then they remind us, with absolute clarity, exactly what we are pretending not to feel. They try to recover quickly. They change their expression. Maybe they said something neutral, something to redirect the conversation away from your name, away from the direction it was pulling their heart. But someone noticed, or perhaps the subject continued anyway. And the more your name stayed in that room, the less they could hold the lid down on everything they had been suppressing. That is, when the tension started. Words that were sharper than the moment required. A restlessness that the people around them could feel, but not explain. An irritability that had nothing to do with the conversation, and everything to do with the war happening silently inside them. Carl Jung called this the return of the repressed. The idea that what we refuse to face consciously does not disappear. It simply moves underground, gathering pressure, until it finds a crack and forces its way back to the surface. And your name, spoken casually in an ordinary room, was exactly that crack. They could not stay in that space. The feelings were too loud. The pretending required too much energy in that particular moment. And so they moved. They left the room. And before they did, or perhaps as a final punctuation on everything they could not say out loud, that door closed behind them with a force that surprised even the people who witnessed it. That slam was not anger at the person in the room. That slam was the sound of someone losing the battle they had been fighting against their own heart. That slam was grief. It was frustration. It was a desperate, cornered energy of a person who has been trying to convince themselves that they are over something, and who just discovered, in the most visceral way possible, that they are nowhere close. Think about that for a moment. You have been on your side of the silence, wondering whether you even crossed their mind, wondering whether the connection you felt was real or imagined, wondering whether you left any kind of mark on a person who seems, from the outside, to have moved on without looking back. And last night, in a room you were not even in, your name alone was enough to unravel them. Not a memory, not a photograph, not a song, just your name. 2 syllables, the word that belongs to you. And it cracked them open like nothing else in their world has been able to do. That is not the reaction of someone who had forgotten you. That is not the reaction of someone who has healed and moved on and filed you somewhere in the past. That is a reaction of someone who is deeply, painfully, undeniably still in love with you. And they are only beginning to face what that means. If these words are landing somewhere real inside you right now, you are not here by accident. Thousands of people find this channel at the exact moment they need it most. Subscribe right now and turn on all notifications so that the next message reaches you when your soul needs it. Now let us talk about why. Why now? Why last night, at this particular point in time, is this person cracking open in this way? Why is the universe arranging these emotional eruptions, these unguarded moments, this return of everything they try to bury? Because something shifted. And that shift began with you, when you went quiet, when you stopped reaching, stopped explaining, stopped making yourself available in the way you once did. You did something far more powerful than you realized. You removed yourself from the role you had been playing in their life, the role of the one who would always be there, the one who could be set aside and returned to, the one whose feelings could be taken for granted because they would remain constant regardless of how they were treated. The moment you stepped out of that role, something in their inner world became unstable. Human psychology is deeply revealing in these moments. We do not truly understand the value of a presence until it becomes an absence. We do not feel the weight of what someone gives us until the giving stops. This is not a flaw in human nature. It is simply the way we are built. We calibrate to what is constant. And when the constant disappears, the entire system is forced to recalibrate. You disappearing, even quietly, even without drama, force them to recalibrate around your absence. And what they found in that recalibration was deeply uncomfortable. They found that the space you use to fill could not be filled by anything else. Not by distraction, not by time, not by the other voices and faces they surrounded themselves with. The specific shape of what you brought into their life, the way you saw them, the way you understood them, the particular warmth of your presence. Nothing else fits that space. Nothing else comes close. And they have been living with that uncomfortable truth for longer than they would ever admit out loud. The fight last night was not just an emotional reaction to hearing your name. It was the accumulation of every moment since you went quiet. Every day they picked up their phone and scrolled past a point where they might have reached out. Every night they almost typed something and then closed the screen. Every conversation where someone mentioned your name and they had to perform casualness they did not feel. It has been building. And the universe, which does not waste pressure, which does not allow important things to remain buried indefinitely, arranged that moment last night to break the surface, to make it undeniable, to force them out of the comfortable numbness they have been hiding inside. There is a spiritual principle at work here that goes beyond psychology. When two souls are genuinely connected, not superficially, not temporarily, but at the level of genuine recognition, that connection does not dissolve simply because two people stop speaking. It continues to operate beneath the surface of ordinary life. It continues to send signals. It continues to create disturbances in the quiet moments. in the unguarded moments, in the moments when a name is spoken in a room and a door slams because a heart refuses to keep pretending. That is what is happening. The connection between you and this person is not finished. It was never finished. And last night was not an ending. Last night was a beginning of them finally, reluctantly, honestly, waking up. And now that you understand what is happening on their side, there's something very important you need to understand about your side. Because what you do next matters more than you know. Now we need to talk about you. Not them, not the room, not the door that slammed or the feelings that surfaced or the war happening inside someone who cannot bring themselves to say your name without unraveling. All of that is real and all of that matters. But right now, in this moment, the most important person in this conversation is you, because what you do in this window of time will determine everything that comes next. The first thing you must understand is this. Do not reach out. Not yet. Not from a place of having just learned this. Not from the warmth of this moment. Not from the surge of hope that is moving through your chest right now as these words land. That impulse is understandable. It is human, but it is not what this moment is asking of you. What this moment is asking of you is something far more powerful than a message sent at midnight. It is asking you to hold your ground. The most magnetic thing you can do right now, the thing that will pull this person toward you more effectively than any words you could send, any conversation you could start, any door you could knock on, is to continue being exactly who you have been becoming in their absence. Someone rooted, someone at peace, someone who knows their own value so completely that they do not need to chase what is already turning around to find them. Think about what you have already done. You chose yourself. You stopped performing patience for someone who was not showing up. You stopped shrinking, stopped over-explaining, stopped making yourself easy to take for granted. That decision, quiet as it was, private as it was, is the very reason this person could not hold themselves together last night when your name entered the room. Your stillness is your power. Do not abandon it now. Instead, turn inward. Use this time to fill yourself with the things that make you feel whole, the conversations that energize you, the spaces that bring you peace, the version of yourself that exists when you are not waiting for anyone else to show up. That version is the one this person fell for. That version is the one they are missing. That version is the one you need to be standing firmly inside when this finally moves forward, because it will move forward. Address the doubt directly, because it is there. Some part of you is asking right now, quietly, whether this is really about you, whether you are reading too much into things, whether hope is simply dressing itself up as certainty to protect you from disappointment. Hear this clearly. The emotional eruption that happened last night does not occur over someone who means nothing. People do not slam doors over indifference. People do not lose their composure in rooms full of other people over someone they have genuinely released. The body does not lie the way the mind can. And what that body revealed last night, that tension, that unraveling, that door, was a truth of what they carry. You are not imagining this. What is coming requires you to be steady, to be grounded, to be so secure in your own worth that when this person finally finds the courage to come back to you, not from guilt, not from loneliness, but from the honest recognition of what they lost, you are ready to receive it from a place of wholeness, not desperation, not relief. Wholeness, that is what you are preparing for now. And that preparation begins today. You are not someone easy to forget. You never were. Not for a single day of the silence. Not through a single distraction they threw at themselves. Not through a single convincing conversation they had in their own mind about moving on and closing chapters and being finished with what existed between you. You were never finished. You were never forgettable. You were never someone who could simply be filed away in the past like a season that had ended. You are the kind of person that stays. Not in the clinging sense, not in the desperate sense, but in the way that genuine things stay. In the way that real moments do not dissolve simply because time passes over them. In the way that a specific quality of love, once experienced, makes everything lesser feel hollow by comparison. That is what you were to them. That is what you remain. And here's the vision that is coming. Not as a fantasy, not as a comfort offer to make you feel better in a difficult moment, but as the honest picture of where this is moving. There is a conversation ahead of you, not the kind that is forced or manufactured or arrived at through pressure, The kind that comes when someone has finally exhausted every alternative and stands at the place where only honesty remains, where the walls they built prove too expensive to maintain, where the silence they chose becomes louder than anything they were trying to avoid. In that conversation, things will be said that have needed to be said for a long time. An acknowledgement of what was real, an admission of what was lost, a vulnerability that this person's been too proud, too frightened, or too unready to offer until now. You will feel it before it comes. A shift in the air, a change in the quality of the silence between you, something that tells you, without any external confirmation, that the tide has turned. When that moment arrives, and it is arriving, receive it with a dignity you've been carrying this whole time, not with walls built from old wounds, not with a performance of indifference designed to protect yourself, but with the open, grounded, unhurried energy of someone who always knew their own worth and simply waited for the other person to catch up. Not ordinary love is coming to you, not the kind that leaves you guessing, not the kind that makes you feel like a question waiting to be answered, not the kind that requires you to make yourself smaller, quieter, less, just to fit inside someone else's comfort. What is coming is the kind that sees you, fully, without conditions, the kind that chooses you in the daylight, not just in the quiet moments when loneliness makes honesty easier, the kind that says your name with something close to reverence, because they have now lived through the education of what your absence feels like. That education is almost complete. If this message found you today, do not let the next one miss you. Subscribe to this channel right now and select all notifications. These words are written to reach you at the exact moment your soul is ready to receive them. The next message is already waiting for you. The door they slammed last night, the one that shook the walls and silenced the room and told everyone present that something far deeper was happening than anyone understood. That door did not close on what you had. It closed on every lie they told themselves about being over you. And on the other side of it, in the silence that followed, in the place where they stood alone with nothing left to hide behind, your name was still there. It has always been there. And they are finally, after everything, ready to stop pretending otherwise.